Okay. Just a funny little part to see somehow our life is in traffic jams. We bought Jaguar, but we are still stuck, and we are, going to entertainment place, and we are, doing the same things, and the happiness continues to elude us. So now the thing is, what is the way out? So let's come to the vision of Vedanta for growth and success. So that means in this analogy of a bird, then if the higher bird, which is now looking at life a little bit differently. So that bird, which is perched on a higher branch, has a broader view, is connected to the whole tree. It sees the whole world as also connected to oneself. So that is the vision of Vedanta. So when we talk about growth, and modern psychology has obviously helped a lot in this whole coming to know ourselves. But many times people ask me, how is the growth as told about in psychology, how is it different from growth that Vedanta is talking about? So one thing it comes to me, and that is the growth that psychology is talking about is still within the worldview of me versus the world. So that means I'm here, the world is external to me, and the world is not always doing what I want it to do. So that brings me sorrows, it brings me fear, which, and I'm not happy with myself. So psychology, kind of keeping the paradigm as it is, tries to cope with it. And that's wonderful. That's really nice to cope with the fact that the world is not going to work exactly as you want it to work, and you have to learn to function within that world. But Vedanta has a totally different paradigm within which it works, and that is what we call the vision of oneness. Vision of oneness is fundamentally different from me versus the world. So in psychology, you remain here and the world remains external to you. Whereas in Vedanta, you see it as one. That is a very major shift of paradigm. So therefore, let's look at this shift of paradigm, what is meant by it. Can you go to the next and show that little wonderful thing of Indra's net? Yeah, this is what we call the Vedic vision. It's Indra's, it represents what we call the whole universe as being one. And that means, and it represents it very interestingly. What do you see in this net? You see what? You see you see the net, and you also see the knots. They are called the jewels, and then you have the nets. What does jewel stand for? What does jewel stand for, and what do the nets stand for? Sorry? Creatures. Yeah. So that means the jewels represent, if you see, can you see this? The jewels represent what? Either all the human beings, or it can represent what? What else can it represent? The jewels. Huh? All jivas, which includes not only human beings, but it also includes all the other living beings, right? What else can it include?
Inanimate objects.
Absolutely wonderful. So it not only includes human beings and all the jivas, which are all insects, birds, reptiles and everything, but it also, as this gentleman is saying, it also includes inanimate objects. So it means what? The sun, the moon, the mountains, the rivers, everything is all part of this grand, beautiful universe. And what connects me to you, even though I may be seeing you for the first time in my life, and what connects me to the insects that may never have seen, or the planets far away in the solar system, or even beyond this solar system. What connects me to everything? Tell me. What are these strings? What do these strings stand for? Yeah, but what connects you to me and to everything else? So the jewels are us, and what is the net which connects us all? Excellent. The forces of the universe, which is what we call the laws of the universe. So what it means is that just as your body has some physiological laws on which it operates, my body does the same. So that means whether you like it or not, our lives are connected through series of laws. So the series of laws nobody can bypass. So that means, what is the growth then? The growth means understanding those laws that exist and aligning our life to those laws so that we can live intelligently. So what I want to show you is just a simple example, then I'll come back to the cosmic example. Suppose in your own body, there are so many different parts. One part loses a sight that I'm part of the whole system, and it starts doing what it wants to do. What will it do? It will upset the whole system, right? So this is what we call cancer. The certain cells, they just start growing, but not in harmony with everything else. And what does it do to the whole body? It destroys it. Or the autoimmune system, that the immune system is supposed to fight the external things, but it starts fighting its own body, and then what happens is it's a disaster. So this is exactly, we are part of the whole. If we lose sight of that reality, and if we lose sight of our connection with everything else and start doing what we want to do, we cause so much harm to the external world, and we are also part of the world, so we also cause harm to ourselves. So that means the human growth, according to Vedanta, requires, as Swamiji was saying, certain expansion. Certain expansion, and as Swamiji was beautifully saying, from becoming a consumer to being a contributor. Because the quality of your life and what you do, even though it may seem that you're a small dot in the universe, it has the capacity to influence the whole world in a way that you cannot imagine. So that means I just want to show you visually this interconnectedness that we have. So just quickly, yeah, now just go back to here. So that means, now what does this slide show you? Yeah, forest. How is it talking about interconnectedness? What do you see from this forest? How would you use this slide to understand interconnectedness? Exactly. It can be seen at so many different levels. So that means each little cell makes what? One tree. Then what? So many different cells make what? And so many different trees, which constitutes what? Forest. For forest to survive, it needs what? Water. And then the sun also quietly participates. Whether you see it or not, is that the reality or not, the smallest cell is connected to not only the tree, but to the whole ecology. This is a fact. So that means this is one thing. The second, as I was just telling you, a human body. So that means some billions of cells come together to make one human body. And if one cell doesn't behave exactly as it is meant to behave, that can cause so many problems, right? So this is what we call the interconnectedness. And the third slide is about neurons in your brain. So that means, I don't know if you all have heard a little bit about what we call neuroplasticity. So what is neuroplasticity is that, we have been living in this world, and suppose you've been living in this world as a small little individual. So small individual means not seeing your connection with everything. Then what happens is that you're a little frightened individual. You think that you're limited. You think that there is so much inadequacy around you. So the external events as they take place in your life, you begin to interpret them in two different ways. Two ways. One is that you kind of feel that the world is victim, that the world is inimical to you, and you're victim to that whatever the world is. It's kind of this unfair place, and you're very good, and you're being a victim for all the good things that you have in you. Nobody appreciates you, nobody looks at you, nobody kind of loves you. This is one way of looking at things, at the victim approach. The other way that people think about themselves is that, I can't always, they put, instead of blaming the world, they put pressure on themselves. So, I'm no good, I could have done this better. So you can keep pushing yourself. So when you do that, because there are so many events, and all these events can create what? Certain thinking patterns in you, which get firmer and firmer over a period of time. So what happens is we build physically neuron pathways. Neuron pathways which molds our thinking with a certain pattern. And that means our stories as we live life, they get bigger and bigger, and our feelings get stronger and stronger. So that means your neuron pathways are set in a certain way. When you come to Vedanta, and when you learn a very different vision of the world, it's not that you who are isolated and you are trying to control the whole world and name the world as unfair if things don't happen your way. This world is an intelligent manifestation where my life is connected to everybody else's life through series of laws which are all intelligently designed, and they are all intertwined together. When you understand that, then what happens? This normal thinking capacity that, either you blame yourself or blame the world, that begins to go away. And you begin to be more and more proactive about what you can do now. First, understand what the laws are. Within that, what can be changed by your free will and what cannot be changed, and then navigate your life intelligently. When you begin to navigate your life intelligently over a period of time, what will happen to this neuron, then patterns? They will change. This is what we call neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, your whole thinking patterns can change, and as a result of that change in thinking pattern, the physical neuron pathways also change. This is the power of knowledge. It's amazing what it can do. So that means Vedas are just amazing, the body of knowledge that Vedas are. So that means when you begin, and if one person changes, what is its effect on other people around? It also changes. Imagine in one home, one person understands. A lot of time people tell me, right, but suppose if I change, but if everybody else continues to be who they are, what will I do? This is a typical question that people have. Anytime you talk about growth, they always say, yeah, but what if others don't do it? So what is the answer to that? Tell me.